So picture this. You're cruising down the open road with the sun at your back, the windows rolled down, the wind blowing through your hair, while the radio's cranking out your favorite tunes. Who here likes going on road trips? And I'm not talking about ones with your mother-in-law.
Mother.
Mother? Oh.
My mother.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not so bad.
Yeah, but my mother. Sorry.
Very shortly, I'm about to embark on the road trip of a lifetime. I'm sure you're all familiar with Route 66, Mother Road, the Main Street of America, as they call it, because it passes through the main street of every town along the route. Route 66 was established in 1926, and it became one of the most famous roads in America. It stretched from Chicago, Illinois, through Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and finally to California, the land of milk and honey. It covered a total of 2,450 miles, or 3,920 kilometers for us metric folks. Let's go back there. Was that where I was to just then? I'm sorry, I flicked too. Get used to the clicker. Route 66 served as a major path for those who migrated west during the Dust Bowl days of the 1930s, and it supported the economy of the communities which the route passed through. However, as years went by, it was later replaced by the faster and more efficient interstate highway, and by 1985, Route 66 was officially removed from the U.S. highway system. Today, you won't find Route 66 on any modern maps or GPS systems. All you'll see now is the interstate. All those GPSs, when you program in your destination, take you to the interstate. So to find Route 66, you need to follow special maps that guide you along the original route. Now, a lot of the route is built over with new towns and new roads, especially in the busier areas around California and Illinois. But right in the middle there, there's still parts of the original two-lane highway that run through the desert in the Midwest. They refer to it as historic Route 66. And the towns and the communities that are around this road, they have fought to keep this part of history alive. And today, it's more of a tourist attraction than a major transportation route. Every year, thousands of people from around the world will make this journey and kind of relive a piece of history as they travel miles of winding roads, going through historic sites, ghost towns, and places that have been rebuilt to resemble what life was like in the mid-1900s. Mom and pop diners, single pump gas stations, and roadside motels. And next week, my girlfriend Patricia and I are going to make this trip for ourselves and get our kicks on Route 66. But before I get into all the details of that, let me just backtrack and explain how our trip came to be. Because it's kind of an interesting story how we led up to this point, let's say. As a lot of you already know, drop the paper here. As a lot of you already know, I have my own bodybuilding and fitness business, LeeHayward.com, which primarily focuses on selling muscle building programs and workout instructional videos. And last year I created a brand new muscle building program called the 21-Day Fast Mass Building System. And with the marketing help of my good friend Vince Del Monte, we launched this program back in January, and it was a huge success. Through some heavy promotions, we sold over 2,000 copies during our first week alone, and we netted a profit of over $100,000. Not bad for a week's pay. So what I did is I used some of that money, pay off a few bills, maxed out my RRSPs. Heck, I even donated $4,000 to the Japanese tsunami relief efforts. And the rest of that money, I tucked away towards going and buying my dream car, a 2011 Chevy Camaro. And I've been searching around for months, looking at Camaros, and I really wanted to find the exact car that I wanted to get. Just last week, I found that car down in Las Vegas on eBay. There it is. 2011 Chevy Camaro 2SS, 6-speed manual transmission, 6.2-liter V8, 426 horsepower engine with a modified exhaust and a cool air intake system to give the car an even deeper rumble and more horsepower. AKA, it's a beast. Now, I've always been a car fan, but I've never owned a new car of my own. I've always been very conservative, very cheap, frugal, whatever you want to call it, and I never financed anything. I always bought old used cars and paid cash for them. And just to give you an idea, oops, we're going too far. Some of the cars, I have rented and driven some exotic sports cars. Shoot. Such as, this is down in Vegas a couple years ago. Rented a Lamborghini Gallardo, a Ferrari Spider, Dodge Viper, and a Lotus Elise. There are several more, but those are the fancier ones. Those are the ones worth mentioning and that make the Hall of Fame here. But this coming Monday, I'm going to walk into Norm Baker's Motor Company down in Las Vegas, and I'll have my certified bank check in hand for the full amount and drive away in a brand new Chevy Camaro that I'll own free and clear. I'm getting that car for $36,000, and I've shopped around. To get that same car here in St. John's would be almost $60,000. So I'm saving, well over, probably close to $25,000 by traveling to the U.S. and buying that car. And the plan is, once we get the car, we're going to head to California and then make our way back through the desert, the Grand Canyon, head her back through the ghost towns, stopping in at roadside diners, mom and pop diners, filling up at single pump gas stations, and sleeping in roadside motels. Might even be like Bugs Bunny and take a wrong turn in Albuquerque. And Albuquerque, New Mexico is on Route 66. It's going to take us about 10 days to do the full trip from California to Chicago. And then after that, the plan is to head east to Connecticut, where I'm going to take in an internet marketing seminar and make our travels a partial business trip and a tax write-off. Wink, wink. No one here works for Revenue Canada, do they? I hope not. After that, we're going to head north to Maine, cross the border into New Brunswick, and make our way back home. When it's all said and done, we'll have crossed the entire continent of North America from Los Angeles to St. John's, and we'll do it in style, driving a brand new American muscle car. Now, when I told my mom about this trip, she freaked out. Oh, Lee, that's such a long trip. Oh, it's going to cost so much money in gas and hotels and meals. Why don't you just take your money and buy a car locally? Can you relate to that? Can you picture my mom saying something like that? But what Mom is missing here is that it's not about having the car. It's about the journey and the adventure. This road trip is going to create memories and stories that will last a lifetime. Now, I realize there's a certain level of risk and uncertainty. I mean, there always is anytime you undertake a journey like that. But that's what makes it so much fun and so memorable. And rather than, just think of it this way. It's a lot more interesting to share a story saying, I found this car on eBay. I flew to Las Vegas, paid cash for it, and drove it back through Route 66. Rather than say, I went into Hickman Motors and bought a car. I mean, that's a pretty boring story in comparison. So my advice to you is, if you have an adventure that you want to do, then do it now. You'll never be as young as you are right now. I'd rather be, the old man sitting back in my rocking chair, telling my grandkids the stories and the crazy trips and adventures that I did when I was younger, rather than saying, I wish I did those trips. It's a lot more satisfying to look back and say, I'm so glad I did it, rather than to say, I wish I had done it. Madam Toastmaster.